everyone, we are Geeks Not Nerds. I'm Captain Logan.
And I am Captain Vince.
And today we're going to review Captain America.
That's right.
Are you promoting yourself to Captain finally?
Yeah, I figure, the SHIELD works.
Okay.
Either that or I'll be an agent of SHIELD.
What about Dooms Vince? Is he Captain Dooms Vince?
He is generally Dooms Vince. He's generally a bad man.
Vince and I over the weekend saw, let's see how many more of our videos we can reference as we continue. Over the weekend, Vince and I both saw Captain America, not together. We both saw Captain America, the First Avenger, and we're going to review it for you right now. Putting 10 minutes on the clock, and here we go.
I want to start with the thing I liked the most about the movie.
All right, go ahead.
I'm not going to give away the scene because I think it was beautiful enough that you guys shouldn't have that spoiled for you.
Also, kind of a non-spoiler review we like to do.
Yeah, but considering it is a new feature. But Captain America, prior to and after he has the serum in him that changes him into the super soldier, the movie is entirely about this guy being a decent person. The movie is entirely about Captain America, i.e. Steve Rogers, being almost this most perfect person. He's not just a guy that wants to join the war. He's a guy that wants to join the war for the right reasons. Yeah,
and I'd say that he's not altogether, he's not too perfect at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, he feels very human, but it's that he's got this integrity that the people surrounding him don't necessarily have. And I really like that point seems to be accentuated by the professor who's conducting the super soldier thing.
Dr. Erskine, or
yeah,
Erskine.
Whatever his name is. I never knew what his name was.
That's the guy's name.
Anyway, when he has a line that's something around the idea of a weak man can be stronger in.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's a weak man appreciates or a weak man can appreciate strength more. A strong man's gonna
take it for granted.
Take it for granted.
Yeah, and I like that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the movie it had a little bit of bull science in it, but whatever.
It's a comic book movie.
That's the thing, is that when I walked into this movie, I fully expected epic World War II, gritty and real, and it was straight up comic book. Like, this is exactly what movie serials wished they could be when movie serials were still being released.
It's a really great point, and I loved that about it.
Oh yeah.
I went in expecting one of two things, or at least hoping for one of two things. Either a Captain America set in a really realistic world where they managed to still keep his integrity intact, and they managed to keep his values intact, or this, which was, his values are still intact, and it's not too overly patriotic, although Captain America certainly is patriotic himself without overblowing that, but at the same time, super comic book.
I wanted that movie where Captain America was trying to achieve his ideals, where he was in this gritty real world. However, here's, I think, what might happen. Captain America is in a world in which he is allowed to be the way he is, even though it is alternative to the way he actually is.
And then when he comes up into now,
then he falls down. I wouldn't mind personally if Avengers was Captain America 2, like the actual story of Captain America.
Doesn't it kind of feel like it will be in a way?
Indeed. I think I'm not going to mind that. I like Captain America enough that I want to explore Captain America as much as possibly can, and apparently Chris Evans is signed for 6 movies, whatever those movies happen to be, whether they cameos or not.
Vince, we're going to have to eat your hat, because we both had some kind of reservations about Chris Evans. Now, I had more than you did. Remember, we did a video on this.
Yeah. I think my essential words were, we'll have to wait to see what he can do. I don't think he's really been given a shot, but generally he's a kid.
Yeah, but I don't think you can say you had no reservations about it.
No, you're right. I mean, I expected Johnny Storm. I expected the guy from The Losers.
And I was proven entirely wrong. He was Captain America, through and through. When we got to the end of the movie, I couldn't imagine anybody else playing him, and I was like, he got it. The film got it. Everybody involved got it, and Chris Evans got it as much or more than anybody.
Yeah, one thing that I think that people were complaining that he's not blonde. I submit this. Blonde and blue eyes is indicative of the Aryan race.
Well, there's that.
And to have a guy who's just looks like a dude from Brooklyn, that's perfect.
Regardless of small things like that, though, pretty well off the page.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of giant things changed. Kind of an amalgam of a few things visually. I don't want to get too nerdy about this. Name of the show is Geeks Not Nerds. But things like, okay, so they use something a little more akin to the Ultimate costume.
There's something I want to point out that's a nitpick. He they'll give him abilities, like the ability to fly a plane, that he doesn't actually train for.
People were complaining about that. You're seeing some reviews where people were saying, well, that doesn't make sense. Just because he's a super soldier doesn't mean that he should know how to do that.
Now, that's very indicative of the serials of the time. You know, your hero is just a guy, jack of all trades,
and
master of all.
40s, 50s comic books, too.
So, it occurred to me, I was about to say master of none, but that's not true. He is the master of all trades. He is this ultimate hero, and my argument against that was potentially that Captain America's mind was made more keen by the super soldier serum. I mean, it's a possibility. You know, a guy that's just the super sponge for everything that's related to combat. Why not? But it's something that needed to be addressed in the film that was not. And
I don't know. I'm with you though in that it felt movie serial, but in a good way.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, and I know a lot of fans are throwing this around, but it's worth mentioning. We do have the director of Rocketeer.
Right on.
And that's what he was doing with Rocketeer. This was exactly the right director. And what a fun movie. Like, it wasn't bogged down by anything broody, and it also wasn't that it had nothing to say either. But I mean, I miss movies like this. Like, I couldn't help be in a good mood when I left the theater. I love that.
Something that I thought when I was watching the movie is that we actually don't get a big character arc for really anybody in the movie. I mean, we have it's a little bit. I mean, a little bit, because it is this coming of age story for Captain America. Not so much age, but coming of potential, I suppose. But the point is that happens around about midway through the movie. The climax of that guy's story is reached. He's made his decisions, and it leads into just more of this fantastic action and fully satisfying action.
The reason it had to be Steve Rogers,
yeah,
to be the super soldier, is because he was the person the Army found that had the values he had, and that's why he was chosen. And then even after that, they just used him to promote things.
Right.
For a long time. They just used him for propaganda, and then eventually he proves himself and goes along. Eric and I were talking about this earlier, and when you and I talked about this before the video a day or two ago, you had a really great point where it seemed like the movie works despite the fact that the main character doesn't really change, but there is an arc. The arc is for the world around him. Captain America changes the world. And it's it's the world at large around him that has to change because of him. And that worked. Like, I really like that about it.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. He is living in a... And Dr. Hootaha, Erskine, that guy is... he straight out says it, that the serum will heighten the personality and the virtues and the faults of the person who uses it.
If you're good, it makes you better, and if you're bad, it makes you more evil. Thus, yeah. Red Skull. And good call, so it turns him into...
So, a little bit of bull science, considering it's this metaphysical idea that's being connected to science, but it is also indicative of comic books of the time.
Also, one of the only times I can think of where it turns him into maybe more of a two-dimensional character, but it's okay, but maybe not. I don't know.
You know, the world around him is really not ready for Captain America. I mean, I'm not going to say how they use him, but...
And they certainly aren't going to be when he gets to the future.
Yeah, when they use him in the way that they do, it's completely undervaluing his ability to be a force of good, a force of anything, really.
That was actually Chris Evans' shining moments in the film, I thought. Or during that section where he had to wear the costume he didn't like, and he had to sell things, and yeah.
I mean, also, I'd like to say the graphics for skinny Chris Evans were pretty good.
Amazing. I forgot all about it.
There were only times that I went,
watching,
oh, right.
I quit thinking about it.
There were times that I was brought back because there'd be a little slippage of some kind, and then I went, wait, it's back. I mean, I still don't care anymore. It's fantastic. This is not young Jeff Bridges from Tron Legacy. This is skinny. Like this.
You know what they need to make? They need to make the action figure vehicle where you put a skinny Steve Rogers into the thing, and then you spin it, and then bulky Steve Rogers comes out of there.
It's a good idea.
Let's talk about Red Skull.
Red Skull.
Off the page, strictly.
I don't have much to say about Red Skull.
Except that he's my favorite comic book villain in 3 years.
Like, here's what's interesting about Red Skull and about Hydra.
In a movie.
Is that these guys are just a little goofy. Everybody in the theater that I was in laughed.
That's what I loved about them.
When they did their Hail Hydra salute. But I don't care. They're still menacing.
But it's silly in a good way.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying, is that this thing is... This is a serial, and it's a comic book, and it's a modern movie, and it manages to carry over all of these things and just jam them together into a great modern movie.
He was menacing in a way that made me smile. Mm-hmm. And I thought that, my last quick note about Red Skull, I thought that one of the smartest things they did was the anticipation of what he's going to look like. And I won't give it away because it's neat, but I mean, like, they don't right away show you what the skull face looks like. And they make you wait and wait, and then they do a really awesome scene where you think you're going to see it, and then you don't, and they make you wait another 20 minutes. And then when you finally see it, it's totally worth it. And they've been really careful in promotional stuff not to show you too much of it. Which, I mean, there's a few full headshots, but still, even having seen those, it was still a big deal.
My final thoughts on this movie is that it's a good movie. It's a solid flick, and I think that people should see it. I mean, it's got some bull science, and it has some points that are definitely questionable, thinking, well, why'd they do that for narrative? But ultimately, I let those slide off my back for the reason that it's based on things that let that stuff slide off its back, too. So, granted, Captain America is not... it is a serial. There is a Captain America serial, but that's not to say that's what it's based on. I'm just saying it's based on things like that.
Right.
So yeah, that's my final thoughts.
Well, Captain America here is, it's 2011, and I wouldn't have really expected to get the real Captain America in 2011. I mean, like, this is a film naturally that's being released worldwide. We're a little scared and a little careful to not make things too American patriotic, that kind of thing. And it's not in your face about that, but it's not anti-America either. It's about this guy. You know what I mean? It's a character piece. Well, it's kind of a character piece, but you know what I'm saying? I like the character. I don't feel like he's too much one way or too much another way.
It's essentially a movie about Americans having potential.
Yeah.
It's saying Americans are imperfect, as illustrated by all the people around Captain America.
That's
and
right.
Captain America is a way of showing these Americans how they can be better.
And the most optimistic film I've seen this year, and perhaps the most optimistic film I've seen in a while, really. Frankly, in the day and age we are right now, with economics and everything, I needed that. I appreciated that. So if nothing else, I felt like I got that out of it. It was really optimistic. I don't know I don't know if I'm going to call it the best movie Marvel Studios has done yet, but it's up there. It's close.
It's very good.
It's definitely close. I don't know if I like it more or less than Iron Man, but it's close to Iron Man in my mind. Just for enjoyment factor, it's there. I'll watch it as many times as I've watched Iron Man. I'll say that.
Oh yes.
So wonderful. Oh, and you know what else we didn't mention? Tommy Lee Jones, who's hilarious.
Tommy Lee Jones is fantastic in just about anything he's in. Even if it's a terrible movie, Tommy Lee Jones is great.
You know something else Eric said was, Eric said when he saw the trailers, he thought Tommy Lee Jones was going to be in like 2 scenes, and he's a major character in this. It's really great.
Oh, I'd also like to say that the bookends for the movie,
great bookends.
They're great bookends, but I think if you haven't read the comics, you may not know what's going on. But if you don't know what's going on, just hold on, because they may explain it in Avengers anyway.
And probably will.
Because they are bookends, but they aren't necessarily important to the actual story that's within Captain America.
Well, if you saw Captain America, tell us what you thought. Naturally, we only talked about this for 10 minutes, so there's all kinds of stuff we left out, so have a chat in the comments. If there's something you'd like us to talk about in a future video, or a movie you'd like us to review, anything like that, feel free to leave that in the comments as well. And thanks a lot for watching Geeks Not Nerds. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince, reminding you to support your local comic book store.